We in Puerto Rico use an amazing array of vegetables and spices and herbs that are so anti-inflammatory, so amazing. Why not use them to serve the purpose of improving our health? And people are like, wow, this is amazing, right? It's about providing the knowledge for people and then saying, hey, try it.
The best part of today is it's our 50th episode. So
that's amazing.
We are celebrating.
Well, thank you for choosing me.
Likewise.
That's amazing. Thank you.
And Dr. Saggar doesn't know what Poppy Shampoo is, but he's Poppy Shampoo for today.
Poppy Shampoo? Is that
Do
a
you know
rapper?
what Poppy Shampoo is?
I don't know what Poppy Shampoo is.
Poppy is like little Poppy, a papito. What were we talking about? Poppy Shampoo.
All right, I'll let somebody else explain it to you. But welcome back, good people. Recommended Daily Dose. I am Dr. Clenton Coleman, along with Dr. Suraj Saggar, aka Poppy Shampoo.
Poppy Shampoo, that's right.
Now, if you're listening or watching, please make sure to subscribe, rate, and review. We have a great guest today, Karla Salinari. She is a holistic health coach based in Brooklyn, New York. She is the creator of Flipbox, as seen on NBC. She helps women and men, I hope, overcome fear, anxiety, and confusion around eating. Welcome. How are you, Karla?
Hi.
Welcome.
Hi,
Happy
guys.
New Year.
How are
Thanks
you?
for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Now you have to tell us what a holistic health coach does. That's an interesting concept. How did you get involved in that, and what led you to do this?
A holistic health coach is a coach that sees food as medicine, that sees food as a way to heal, to nourish the body, to help reduce inflammation, to help just kind of heal the body, improve relationships with food through kind of like a holistic approach, right? Just that kind of using food as their friend versus kind of following a script in order just strictly to lose weight or to really reduce cholesterol. So it's improving their relationship with food that way.
Do you think that's something that we got out of, that we used to do? Because that sounds like really polar opposite of what physicians do now. It's more about medicine, but it sounds like, food has been and always should be medicine. I think we've probably gotten away from that.
Absolutely. I think it's going back to our roots, right? It's going back to the way that our ancestors used to eat. It's going back to the way that our ancestors used to treat the root cause of issues that we would have to deal with before, right? And of course, I'm in front of two doctors, which we owe so much to. But I think that having a more holistic
some more than
approach,
others,
okay. I think having a more holistic approach to food in combination with medicine and all the advances that have been brought, to the table with Western medicine, I think it's a wonderful way to improve overall health and wellness, right? I think that, we go to doctors because we need help. We need quick help. And it's also important to treat the root cause of the issues. And that's where a holistic health coach like me would come in and kind of help you guys, the physicians, help your patients thrive so that they're not dependent on medications for the rest of their lives.
So are you working with other healthcare providers, physicians, nurses, what have you? Or are you working directly with patients or clients or both?
So I think that it's a little bit of both. The way that it works usually is I'll have someone reach out to me through reference, through word of mouth, and they'll say, it usually always happens the same way. They'll come to me and say, I want to lose 40 pounds, right? Or I want to lose 30 pounds, or I want to get back to my pre-baby weight, which is usually the script. And then it always turns into so much more than that. I have an unhealthy relationship with food, which usually might translate into there's some type of food sensibility or some food allergy. And then I will then say, well, have you seen a physician that specializes in X, Y, and Z? And then it usually turns into me referring them to a specialist that I know about or someone that we've worked together in finding. And then that specialist will then know that my client is working with me, and then we'll work side by side in helping them reach whatever goals they're trying to reach, which is usually not anything like what they came to me when we first met.
Right. That's interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
So then it becomes about reducing inflammation. It becomes about, understanding how food affects their body. It becomes about improving their sleep. It becomes about, reducing how much sugar they're consuming. So it becomes completely different. And it just so happens that because I'm Latina, I'm Puerto Rican, I see such a huge disconnect, right? I mean, that's what led me on this journey myself. This is what my story is. I gained 82 pounds when I was pregnant with my daughter. After I came home from the hospital, I had no idea how I was going to take the weight off without, going on some ridiculous, unsustainable juice cleanse or some cabbage diet or some ridiculous diet that, as we know, long term is never going to work.
Right.
And, I decided to go to nutrition school. I decided to just understand, I said, this isn't working. Something's got to give. What is it that's going to work? And in doing the research for myself, I had so many aha moments. And I knew that I had to help other people because, like myself, there were so many other men, women out there that, in mostly the Latin community could benefit from everything that I was learning too. And here we are, right? And not only that, we're being faced with this pandemic, right? Where doctors like yourselves, I mean, we were just talking about this, how you guys have been slammed with so much work, right? In the epicenter of this crazy pandemic. And, you're relying on us to stay home and stay healthy. But what does that mean? A lot of people don't understand. Improve your immune system, right? What does that mean? How do you do that? Well, through a natural diet, through understanding how you're feeding yourself, right? And that's what us holistic health coaches do. And this is what we're promoting.
So that's an incredible background, by the way. And I think Clinton and I both want to dive in multiple aspects of what you spoke. So I'm going to ask one question that we can just go back and forth. But that's really a fantastic overview. I noticed you mentioned the word relationship quite a bit. And I think it's because how people look at it. So I wonder, like, are you, a lot of people say they eat for emotional gain. Clinton, when he gets very nervous, he'll eat a whole bucket of Popeye's chicken. And I tell him not to. But that's an emotional, issue here. But I like what you said. And I'll tell you, as a healthcare provider, as a physician, we, don't necessarily have time or our training to do this, where we tell people that, no, yes, food sustains you, but you have to look at it separately. It's not just something I do 3 times a day, not something that I do when I'm bored or my boyfriend or my girlfriend breaks up with me or when I'm emotionally upset or whatever it might be, or I need a sugar high. So I like what you said about relationship, but how do you get that point across that, food is medicine, that, hey, look at it as every time you eat, it's an opportunity to infuse your body with something good, and to take a step forward. And it's an opportunity, not just to fill your face full of potato chips or whatever. So I like the idea of relationship, but how do we get that idea across, to people?
Sure. So one of the ways that I tell my clients is this: look at a plate of food and ask yourself, how does this serve my purpose? Right? So you look at your plate and you say, there's no such thing as good or bad food, right? If you flip the script, if you change the narrative and you look at your plate and you say, how does this food serve me? Right? So I'm not telling you don't eat your Popeye's chicken, right? But if you're looking to improve your health, if you're looking to reduce your cholesterol, if you're looking to improve diabetes and all that stuff, you're going to choose differently by nature, right? So it'll make you make better choices in the morning. So I'll tell my clients, if you're looking to have sustained energy, better mental focus, improve your digestive system, you're not going to choose a bagel with cream cheese. Why? As you guys know, better than anybody else, you're going to spike your insulin levels. You're going to be hungry in 3 hours. What are you going to do? You're going to look for something else that's sugary. Not only does that apply to you, but it applies to the kids, right? And we can talk about this as it relates to remote learning and all that stuff in a little bit if you guys are interested. Yeah. So you're spiking sugar, spiking sugar, spiking sugar. It's not, don't eat the bagel every once in a while if it's something that you really enjoy. But if you choose foods purposefully,
Right.
you make better choices,
Right.
right? Because you understand how that meal is going to affect you. So if you understand that you're spiking your sugar levels, if you choose a bagel versus scrambled eggs with a piece of avocado, some kale, and a drizzle of olive oil, not only is that going to serve as an anti-inflammatory meal, it's going to keep you full longer. It's going to protect your digestive system, and it's gonna protect your immune system. So what are you going to choose? The bagel or the eggs, right?
But I think a lot of
So
people
you're
don't have that
choosing with
insight, right?
purpose.
They don't have, they're
Right.
not enabled, but they don't have that
Exactly.
insider knowledge, which
Well,
is
well, what's
sorely lacking. Yeah.
what's the disconnect though, right? Like, I think I don't know the answer, but you think that people focus on the pleasure of food more so than anything? Because if you treat it like medications, you wouldn't take a medication if it wasn't serving a purpose, right? You wouldn't take a high blood pressure medication to treat your diabetes, or you wouldn't take a pill at all if it wasn't beneficial to you. So I think that analogy would apply to medicine. But why do you think that it's such a barrier for people to feel that way about food when we know it's such a beneficial thing to eat healthy?
It's, in my opinion, it's the lack of education, right?
Mm.
So it, and also, and this has been my experience, and I hear it time and time again. We have the wonderful world of Google. We have the wonderful world of the internet, Instagram, Facebook, and all that stuff. People are incredibly overwhelmed. There's a wealth of information. There's so much
Sure.
knowledge. People are incredibly overwhelmed. And what do? They shut down. It's too much information. I don't know what to choose. I don't know what's good for me. It's not that difficult,
Right.
right? But there is that lack of information, right? That people are not making it easy for other people to understand. So for me, that's why I took the route of the Latina Health Coach, which is how you can find me out there on social media, Instagram and Facebook. I simplify that for you. I take traditional Latin flavors, traditional Latin recipes, and I turn them plant-based, and I explain to you why it's purposeful to eat this way. For example, during the holidays, I shared a bunch of traditional Puerto Rican Christmas recipes, and I made them better. I upgraded them. I like to use the term upgrade because I feel like people can relate to them. So it's not about giving up the arroz con gandules, which is the rice and the pigeon peas, right? It's about upgrading them. You know, we in Puerto Rico use an amazing array of vegetables and spices and herbs that are so anti-inflammatory, so amazing. Why not use them to serve the purpose of improving our health? And people are like, wow, this is amazing, right? It's about providing the knowledge for people and then saying, hey, try it.
Right.
What's the worst that can happen? You get a mushy rice, big freaking deal. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? Like, it's not like you're going out there and you're buying all of these things and it's so expensive. It's not. It's out there. Let's go back to basics. Let's make that chicken noodle soup and take the benefits of that collagen. It helps your hair, your skin, and your nails. Isn't that what your great grandmother used to do when you weren't feeling that great? Right?
Yeah.
Eat with purpose. Nourish your body.
And what about, so that's fantastic, but so, you know, going one step further, specifically as a Latina, as a Puerto Rican, so are you looking at maybe taking traditional foods and, you know, saying, okay, we can use more, okay, I noticed you mentioned plant-based, so I know certain cultures are more meat-based cultures, right? You know, my background is from India. It's very much a, you know, not a meat-heavy, you know, and I'm actually a pescatarian. But a lot of people say, well, that's how I grew up. My grandmother made this, you know, oxtail, whatever, you know, I think it's more of a Dominican dish, but I know it's all throughout the Caribbean, curry goat, whatever it might be. So are you looking to change the way they eat from going less meat to more plant, but still incorporating traditional, in your case, Puerto Rican flavors, spices, etc.? Or are you trying to get them to change completely? Because I think that's a problem we see, you know, in the Africa. We have a lot of different ethnicities, obviously here, African American, Puerto Rican, Indian. You want, people are hard to break habits of things they're used to, right? So if you tell them to completely change how they eat and they're used to eating how their parents, their grandparents, and culturally how they were taught, that becomes very difficult. What I like, what you're saying is that you take traditional flavors of your ethnicity and just use them in a more healthy manner.
Yes, no, I don't want anybody to feel like I'm telling you stop eating. I am strictly
Right.
vegetarian. My 5-year-old is strictly vegetarian. My husband is a carnivore.
Right. Right.
You know, we eat very differently in this house, but our objective is the same. We eat whole foods, high quality foods that nourish the body. So when you go and when you find the Latina Health Coach, the reason that I chose to promote plant-based recipes is
Sure.
because I want to bring you back to reminding you, right? And I'm going to explain to you why I say reminding you. I want to remind you about all of these traditional spices. And you, doctor, coming from an Indian background, I mean, there are so many amazing spices, right?
Sure.
Turmeric, black pepper, cardamom, that are incredibly healing, right? And nourishing to the
Turmeric,
body.
especially, very anti-inflammatory. I would love if you could talk about that.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure.
Exactly. And the combination of turmeric and black pepper, right? It's so gut healing and so anti-inflammatory when you mix those two together. So this is a perfect example. So it's
Right.
not about telling you don't eat the meat. It's about reminding you about all of these vegetables, all of these fruits, all of these spices, and how to reintroduce them. If you choose to pair them with animal protein, that's great. But let
Right.
me remind you that animal protein isn't the only protein. It's one of the many proteins that you can consume. So when you come to me, I provide plant-based ideas. If you want to go to another holistic health coach, then maybe they want to provide with, I don't know, gluten-free paleo or whatever. I
Right.
think that that's the difference. But in no way, shape, or form am I trying to convince my audience to go plant-based. It's just a way to come to me for more plant-based options.
Now, Dr. Saggar is often confused with the Dominican Telemundo host, but
I am. I have the same high cheekbones, actually. Yeah.
but for someone
It's just my Spanglish
actually,
is not as good, you know.
for someone, I guess in particular of the Latinx, dealing with those
Community.
types of patients, we see a lot of these cultural barriers. You have any recommendations for doctors or healthcare providers when dealing with patients who don't look like them as far as recommending health and wellness tips without, I guess,
There's a,
imposing on, I don't want to say cultural restrictions, but on cultural norms.
or cultural sensibilities. You know, there's a trust issue, and we can dive into how COVID affects that. But we
Right.
know that certain people have a distrust of physicians. They've been perhaps not treated in a proper way in the past, right? So we talk a lot about our show about racism, public health issues, all these things. But we
But
know,
not
for instance,
necessarily, but sorry, not to cut you
yeah.
off.
No, I'm gonna say, but we're talking about COVID, and Clinton will jump in, but we know COVID specifically has hit the Hispanic community and Latin community, especially in northern New Jersey and New York tri-state
Absolutely.
area, disproportionately hard. So we feel like there's definitely a need for more outreach, more targeted outreach in these communities. But as physicians, we get trained for culture competency and things like that. But I think we could learn a lot kind of the way you approach your patients.
But just simple things like not necessarily COVID related, but say I
Yeah,
want to lower someone's carbohydrate intake, and rice is a staple, or rice or even pasta is a staple in their
a
culture.
lot.
I find that very difficult to address and
Right.
change, probably because I don't understand, like, what's culturally acceptable or what the cultural norm is. Do you have any recommendations for doctors to address those particular things?
I think, and this is my recommendation to all of the physicians out there. I think
Sure.
that it's important that you guys all have culturally diverse health coaches that you guys work with.
Right.
I think that it goes hand in hand, and I think that we want to help our people thrive, right?
Right.
I want to help my people thrive. And, I am currently doing a series on Telemundo that here locally in New York, Channel 47, that is helping this entire week. How can we help our community lower inflammation and help improve the immune system through
Right.
budget-friendly meals, right?
Right.
And the way that we're doing it is, post Christmas, and how can we do this? And one of the things that I keep in mind is budget-friendly meals, right? And it's so easy, right? But I know that because I grew up around this food, right?
Mhm.
So what do? I think about what are the foods that I grew up with, right? But we don't expect you guys to know that. But that's where a holistic health coach would come in And, we can take that responsibility off your plate while helping your patients thrive, right? So, and it's very important. And I've seen it. And I think that now, I think with this pandemic, people want to be healthier. People now more than ever know the importance of straightening the immune system, taking care of themselves, eating healthier, less fried food, more vegetables. I mean, now my clients are telling me, I want to eat a little bit more plant-based, at least one meal a week. Meatless Monday is a huge trend, right? Hashtag Meatless Monday. I'm
followed by Taco Tuesday, unfortunately.
Followed by, what is this basketball player that made
LeBron.
this Dwayne? Is it Wayne? LeBron? I mean, come on. And, but it's not about not doing Taco Tuesday. Let's upgrade Taco Tuesday and let's make it a healthier version. It's not about giving up the foods you like. It's about finding a healthy upgrade to it. And you could totally do it.
Yeah.
But you need that education. You need that, you have to understand. And if you know about meal upgrades like mushrooms are a great meat substitute. They're packed with fiber and they're delicious.
I use portobello mushroom. I don't eat beef. I'm Hindu and I gave up chicken, but you can only eat so many veggie burgers in your days, right? So
agreed.
Thoughts on a portobello? I didn't realize portobello can serve as the main part of a sandwich. And, you can still put all the things you would put on a hamburger, what have you, and it tastes delicious. It's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you could saute it the same with tofu. You could, and it acquires whatever taste you give it. You can make veggie burgers. I mean, I know that you're veggie burgered out, but you can make veggie burgers like from 4 ingredients, right? So there's so many alternatives to the things that you can make, and you can make tons of stews and you can, for us Puerto Ricans, there's no meal that is complete without rice, right? But what about quinoa, right?
Yeah, sure.
Quinoa, and when made right, people tell me, oh, it doesn't taste like anything. How about you toast it with a little bit of ghee? What's ghee? Clarified butter. And then
Indian
you explain
butter,
what's ghee? Indian butter. And it's, blending the cultures together. How many of my clients aren't now hooked on ghee who had no idea what ghee was before? So it's about blending culture, blending flavors, bringing all of these things together.
I love that because, in Southeast Asia, white rice is a staple and same. Well, how about long grain rice or how about quinoa? So you're blending the East and the West. I like that. I think we need to have you after the show do a private consultation for Dr. Coleman because he has a lot of work.
I hate quinoa.
You don't like it?
When I say veggie burger, he says prime rib. So we have a lot of work to do with him still.
That's not true.
And going off of that, so similar to my husband loves the meat, but so let's upgrade the quality of your meats. There's so many great delivery services. I mean, we can talk about these offline. Get the best quality meat that you can find and then just eat less of it, right? Like we don't need to eat so much meat, right? We can eat better quality meat, a little bit less of it, include more veggies in your plate, add more, healthy fats, olive oil, more anti-inflammatory, and then just kind of, do it that way. Promote healthy alternatives that way.
And I think part of the problem that we ignore is that a lot of the problems like obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, all the inflammation is a Western phenomenon. We've gotten away actually probably more so from our cultural roots as far as nutrition. Because if you go, if we go back to where, our families are now, I'm sure there's not as rampant diabetes and obesity. So it's probably getting away from our staple culture. So it's probably not the rice. It's probably the other crap that we put in our food. So
I'll follow it up, Clinton, because that's a great example. And this is and then I want to ask Karla about you and how COVID-19 has affected clients, and we talk about COVID-15 and people gaining weight but someone had asked me the other day about why aren't we seeing more impacts in Africa from COVID-19? And there's some ideas being floated around that A, it's a younger population, but B, the incidence of obesity and diabetes and metabolic syndromes in Africa is exponentially less than other parts of the world. And it is thought that plays, at least in part, a reason why Africa, at least right now, thankfully, is not, being ravaged by COVID-19 like other parts of the world, especially in the West, right? Like the United States. So I think that speaks to what you're speaking of, that, other countries that are not necessarily ingrained with the Western diet don't have the same levels of metabolic syndrome, which we know increases inflammation in the body. We talk about it all the time on our show and how it relates to infections and otherwise. But, I know you already touched upon it, but COVID-19, have you seen people, you said healthier, but have you seen people reaching out because they're at home and they're snacking all the time? I suspect a lot of older people who are working, adults, are having issues with weight gain. Is that something you've been seeing, or people reaching out to you?
Yes, absolutely. I think I know that I speak for myself and a lot of my colleagues that are holistic health coaches as well. We've seen a lot of that. And, not only for the adults, but for the children as well. And we should pay attention. And this goes back to the point that I was trying to make before when I was giving the example about the bagel.
Sure.
Children, just like us, right, have blood sugar spikes. So think about that. And the audience should think about that too when they're feeding their children sugary snacks and then expect them to sit in front of a Zoom for 4 hours.
That's right.
And then wonder why they keep asking for snacks. I have a 5-year-old and I'm a health coach, right? But at the same time, she's a child, and I try to do the best I can, but keep in mind that she's also a young child and doesn't really understand things the way that we understand them as adults, as healthcare physicians, as health coaches as well. But we try to do the best we can, and keeping healthy alternatives at home, making a conscious effort to try to keep them hydrated, making sure that they're taking their supplements, making sure that they have healthy snack alternatives, so that these things don't happen to them as well, right? So not only do we have to pay attention to our dietary needs and making sure that we're staying healthy with a strong immune system, but for them as well, right? And that's something that, yes, to answer your question, has been happening to us. I've gotten so much work during the height of the pandemic because we're not moving.
Right.
We live here in New York City where you're either getting on or off the subway, walking here and walking there, to being completely non-active. I mean, our digestive system is slowing down, our immune system is slowing down, and we're not doing anything but sitting home in front of Zooms, eating and, packing on the pounds. If we're lucky, we get a 20-minute workout in our living room. Right. And yeah, it's affecting a lot of people. And then, of course, as you guys know, we're not going outside, so we're not getting exposure to sunlight. So we're even more deficient in vitamin D.
Vitamin D.
So, that's affecting a lot of people too. So yes, of course, they're coming to me to, trying to understand how they can improve, their diet, how they can, what supplements they can take to stay healthy, and just try to stay, as healthy as they can while being at home.
Do you see patients eating more or clients eating more now the holidays are over, right? The whole seasonal affective disorder in New York is kind of gray and cloudy. Same thing with New Jersey, So I think a lot of people say, well, I got nothing going on. Let me just eat, So I think, like you said, we have to break that relationship. I think that's extremely important. I mean, what you mentioned about every meal or everything you ingest is an opportunity to do something healthy for your body, whether it's build lean muscle mass, lower inflammation. I mean, if people can start thinking about it in those terms, that's very powerful. That's very powerful indeed. Yeah.
It is, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm currently writing a bilingual cookbook that highlights exactly that. Yeah. So basically, the book is Food That Loves You Back. And one of the things that, it's a Latinx cookbook, and it's lighthearted. And basically what I did with the help of my family is that we took family-friendly recipes passed down from generations and turned them plant-based. And just, and highlighted that, what is at the end of your fork can either improve your health or harm it. So why don't we just take that initiative to make better choices, smarter choices, and flip the narrative? And like I said, and I'll continue to say over and over again, it's not about giving up the foods that we like. It's about upgrading them and about changing it so that the next generation of the kids and the kids' kids could continue to do the same. We can make the same delicious desserts that our grandparents used to make. Let's just use better quality ingredients. I mean, I make coquito, which is Puerto Rican eggnog, and instead of using refined sugar, and instead of having refined sugar, I use maple syrup, right? So we upgraded it. We didn't change the flavor, and we still enjoyed something that brings us together as a family.
Yes, mi gente presente. That's what My kids say that all the time. So mi gente, do mi gente
Yes, mi gente
presente.
presente. Yes, she did. Yeah.
I can only take Clinton speaking so much Spanish here. It's without him saying, but you do a very nice accent.
So says Papi
Thank
Shampoo.
you.
I always wanted to
That's
be a
probably
host
yeah.
on either Telemundo, like the Bienvenidos, like the real deep, sexy voice.
Beautiful.
Karla, can you tell us where, you mentioned before, but tell us kind of where people can find you on social media, online, and beyond?
Yes, of course. So you can find me at the Latina Health Coach on Instagram, on Facebook. I do a bi-weekly segment on Telemundo 47 here in New York. So you
Excellent.
can
Wow.
find me there as well. This week, I'll be on all week between 6 and 7 a.m. So you can catch me there as well. And yeah, you can find me on my website at www.karlasalinari.com. And then the book will be out closer to the summer, fall of 2021. So this year.
Oh, we really look forward to
it.
that.
Yes.
That's very exciting.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
No, your passion really, speaks for itself. I mean, it really just comes screaming out of the screen here, but it's very impressive. And I think everything you're saying is applicable to anyone, right? Of any background, nationality, culture. And there's so much to learn from people like you. And we really appreciate you sharing your wisdom, your knowledge. Hopefully you can help Clinton. I think I'm going to sign him up for some classes with you. Because he does need some help. I haven't made the full push to plant-based. I'm still a pescatarian, but I'm still thinking about making that eventual jump. But I think Clinton could use a little nudge in that direction.
Yeah, too much Swedish fish and now laters and all that stuff.
So, Karla, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, and most importantly, your passion. Thanks to all our listeners out there. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe. Until next time, find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you may see a podcast, and as well as YouTube. Until next time, be well. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much for having me.